Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Physician Heal Thyself Car Therapy. This is January 15th, and I am, as usual, headed to work for my night shift. Um, Hopefully, by now, we have been very well acquainted, so I don't have to make introductions. But if for some reason you are new here and the algorithm just positioned this video in front of you, my name is Veronique. I am a general surgery resident. I am an osteopathic physician, uh, active duty military captain, and a wife to a highly esteemed husband. Um, this is my daily therapy session where I enlist you, my anonymous unpaid therapist in the void, to discuss the goings on of general surgery, my life, and the various ways by which I am trying to stave off anxiety as an adult in this current lifestyle and economy and all the other things. Okay. Yesterday night was what has become a recurrent theme in my work life, a very busy, very long, didn't sit down the whole entire day kind of day, which again, as usual, for me is fun and entertaining, and there's always a lesson to be learned. But it was a lot. It was a lot. We had a series of small surgeries yesterday, but no surgery from preparation to completion is ever really small. They're always like a little time consuming. So my upper level and chief were both in the OR for the better part of the night, which translated into I was on the floor running around doing stuff for a long time. It was nothing crazy. Again, I love being in that situation, especially at night, because it gives me an opportunity to think a little critically about some things, to learn about some little things without the pressure of, the populace, without like a lot of people around. Things are slowed down, so I get to slow down as well and process things and get to take care of different tasks. Yesterday was the usual, patients that were getting settled in. We had a couple of very particular patients yesterday, very particular surgeries that needed very particular things that I had to spend the first hour or so of the night trying to figure out. And then we had patients that, as I mentioned in my last video, come from outside that you have to kind of get settled in, sometimes in the middle of the night. Sometimes like those patients have their own like specific, unique things that you have to deal with. And then my lesson from yesterday was about the importance of experience, the importance of, I've always mentioned, if you've watched my previous videos, how crucial it is to have seniors and chiefs and stuff like that that are really supportive of you, that are doing all of these things. The other thing that I learned yesterday that I was really grateful for is the importance of those guys having the years of experience that they have, which can make their decision making much different from yours, or their thought process much different from yours. My example was, as we had a patient yesterday that has been in the hospital for a while. They had this surgery. They've had a little bit of like, they're slowly coming back, but sometimes it takes some people a little bit longer to come back from surgery than it does other people. This patient has been like toggling back and forth. Like they've been okay. They'll start eating and then they'll like have nausea and vomiting, and like we will back them back down because the problem with nausea and vomiting when you're in the hospital is if you throw up, especially if you're lying down, you can do this thing that's called aspiration, which means that you can put the liquid vomit into your lungs and you can seed your lungs with infection, and nobody likes infected lungs. Bad news for everybody, patient included. So we've been very carefully watching this patient and their nausea and vomiting and stuff like that. And they were getting better. They were getting a lot better yesterday. And then I got a phone call actually, I got a series of messages through the evening about them and where the surgery was done, where they had a wound that basically is getting healed. That is a place where they had a procedure without getting into too much detail, and then we had done a different procedure to reverse the previous one. So they have that wound that's healing there. And yesterday I got messages from the nurse. I was like, hey, just wanted to let you know this wound is pouring out like liquid stuff. It wasn't bleeding, it wasn't blood, it was just like fluid that was coming out of the wound. So the first time the message came by, I was like, hey, okay, I got it. Please repack and then let me know what happens. About 30 minutes later, they texted again and they were like, hey, I literally just repacked it and it's oozing again. The fluid is coming out. Now, the thing about oozy wounds and wounds that like take things out, surgical sites that do that, is that there's something called dehiscence, which essentially is that if you do a surgical procedure, you're cutting the person from outside in, right? So you're doing skin, you're going through the fat, you're going through like their muscle, and then you're going into the belly. If you suddenly have fluid that is coming out of the site of the surgery, then it is possible that one of your layers that you closed, basically from the muscle to the fascia to the fat to whatever, it's possible that something there has broken down. So there's fluid leaking out. That is usually an indication to like take that seriously, maybe check it out. Like, do you need to go back and put a stitch in there? Do you need to take that person back to the operating room because like the whole thing has broken down? What is the situation? So I told the nurse, I was like, okay, let me just come and see them, because it is also possible that this is an exaggeration, right? Like somebody would be like, oh my God, this patient is crying about 9/10, 10/10 pain. They say that they're dying. They want like Dilaudid. And then you go there and the patient's sitting there eating dinner, watching television. And you're like, I don't know what your definition of 9/10 pain is, but this ain't it. Anyway, I did go to see the patient, and when I was standing there, I saw what the nurse was saying, which was, as I was standing there, I dabbed the wound, and then I waited, and you could see the fluid building up in the wound and basically coming out. So I took a picture, I took a little video, I put it in the patient's chart, and then I started thinking, because sometimes you read things in the textbook and you read things like when you're studying that don't always happen in real life, right? So this patient had that wound thing, and I was a little worried because I was like, well, it's been drummed into our heads in the textbooks that like if this is happening, then this patient needs to go to the operating room. I felt in the wound. I was looking for, is there really something there? Is there really, like they call it a defect? Is something broken that we need to take care of? I didn't feel anything. I didn't find anything, but there was fluid coming from somewhere. And I was like, this is probably the time to call in reinforcement. So I called my chief and I was like, hey, can you please come take a look at this? Because, this is coming from somewhere, but I can't find the place. The math is mathing. I don't know what to do. Please come check it out. So they came and they went and they did the exact same thing. They did the exam. They looked around. They put their finger around, kind of felt about for something. They didn't find it. Now, my process for this was, oh, this patient is dehisced. We have to take them to the, thank you. Sorry, nice guy was letting me go. You have to take them to the operating room. You have to like do all of this stuff, and you have to call the attendant. No. Chief came, looked at it, put their finger around, poked through it, and said, the fluid is coming from somewhere, but the incisions are intact. There's no, like, obvious break. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to repack it tightly. So we took a different kind of dressing, stuck it in there, like, covered the whole cavity, put it on top of it, put some gauze on top of it, and put this tight seal. Boom. That was it. And they said, leave that there. If it continues to frankly like ooze anything, then we'll figure out the next step. It didn't. That was it. That was the solution. It just needed a little bit more reinforcement. It needed to have a little bit more packing. And it just needed to have it's called you just needed to have some stasis, just a little bit more pressure, so that the fluid would stay where it needed to be. And I was thinking about it after that, and I was just like, if it was just me, if I was the only one, if I was the only one in the hospital that day, if I was the only one that was in service that day, I probably would have been like, oh my God, Dr. X, Y, and Z, this patient is, has had her incision dehisced. We have to take them to the operating room. And you get the chief that comes in with the benefit of the years of experience, very calm. It's like, no, this really isn't that big of a deal. And if it is, we will take care of it. Right? There's no need to panic. There's no need to run around. There's no need to do anything. And I think that's really great. I think that's and that's also one of the things that you look forward to as a lower level is man, I can't wait to get to the point where I would walk into a situation like that and go, this looks bad, but it isn't bad. It's actually not that bad. So that was my lesson for yesterday, is that not everything requires fire, 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 which I've learned, which is the opposite of a different lesson that I learned while I was a transitional year, which was sometimes the things that you think that are not that serious actually are. I'm going to tell that story at some point because I'm still at a part where it's been almost a year since it happened. And some days I still wake up and I worry, where I looked at a patient and I had a conversation with the patient and I made a judgment call that they were fine. And it turned out that they weren't. At the time, the patient didn't have any really terrible demise thing, but they were a patient that was really sick. And some days I wonder whether my not being prompt with a decision on that day may have precipitated something else that happened afterwards. But I'll talk about that at another time. Outside of that, the other thing that I wanted to discuss was today I decided to do something that I haven't done. Actually, I decided to go running. I decided to go running today instead of going to the gym. The last time I went running was on the morning of New Year's Day when I was in Maryland. And it was sub-0 degrees, outside. It was cold. I had gloves on and everything. It was freezing. Today I decided to go running because I want to challenge myself for something. I can't say what it is quite yet because I want to get to it and then say that I did it. But I'm trying to split my workouts now I'm trying to do hybrid training, and I'm trying to go from, lift and run as most people are doing out here today. But just for the heck of it today, I wanted to go out and run because it's cold outside, but it's not that bad. I wanted to do something else that didn't involve me going to the gym, and I didn't have a lot of time. When I woke up, I had ample time. I woke up at 2:30 p.m. and my plan was to be at the trail by 3:00 because something with me that I don't like is I don't like running on a treadmill. I don't know. I'm sure there is a good, people say that you run on a trail for endurance. And no, you run on a road for endurance and you run on a trail for speed, on a treadmill for speed. I just don't like running on treadmills because it feels like I'm running in place. One of my favorite things about the new smarty pantsy treadmills that are out right now is that they do that thing where on the screen you can see that you are running through some trail up in France or Denmark or wherever. And it's so specialized that you can feel the bumps in the road and all of that. I used to have that. There was a treadmill like that in one of the gyms that I worked out at. I've moved now a million times, y'all. I don't know where this was. I think it might have been somewhere in North Carolina. It was such a good thing. And if I ever had bougie money, that is the kind of treadmill that I would buy. But I don't like running on treadmills. I wanted to run outside. I wanted to run in the cold. So I went outside today, got my gloves together, got my leggings, got my shoes and everything, and decided to go running. The plan for me, if you know me, you know that I am competitive. I am competitive even with myself, especially now that I don't have anybody to compete with because, it's just me and my husband. Sometimes I compete with my husband, but he was at work. And I don't have enough time to join running clubs or whatever. So my plan was I am going to go and make a goal that will force me to push myself. Normally when I go out, I run two distances. If I just want like an easy run, no stress, I will run 3 miles. That's it. I'm just gonna run 3 miles because at the 1.5 mile mark, I'm like, that's when, the feelings are starting to kick in. And then by the time it's 2 miles and 3 miles, I'm done. Today I wanted to run five because I knew that I hadn't run in 2 weeks. So my you know, distance and speed and whatever would need to be worked on. I knew that I didn't have a lot of time because instead of leaving my house at 2:30, I ended up leaving my house at 3 o'clock. So I didn't get to the trail until about 3:20. I needed to be in the hospital. I needed to be in the hospital before 6 o'clock. So I needed to have run those 5 miles, gone home, changed, gotten in the car, and gotten to the hospital all before 6 p.m. So I had put myself on a clock and put a little bit of fire under my butt. Okay. And then I left from there. And when I got to the trail, I said, okay, Samsung Health, we're going to do 5 miles. Where is this thing taking me? My GPS is taking me into that. Okay. I got cut off there because my GPS was trying to take me someplace else, which maybe I'm going to do it. But there's something about, you know, doing things that you don't know at times when you don't know. I'm just going to take the route that I know and see what it does for me. Yeah, it didn't do anything. It didn't change anything. See, this is why sometimes you don't need to listen to your GPS. Anywho, I was talking about me running. Um, so I started, and it was fine. It was a good, nice run. Um, the exhaustion started to hit me around mile number one because, again, I hadn't run in a while. I normally don't really stretch much before I start running, which I should try, but like the trail is right there. You can just start running. So, didn't really do a lot of stretching, didn't really do a lot of that. I just started running and it was fine. It was fine. It was cold. I had a fanny pack because I carry a fanny pack with me so I can put my keys and my phone and stuff like that. And my fanny pack kept slipping, which means I had to stop every now and then to try to figure it out. I ended up getting annoyed and then just taking it off and sticking it across my chest like those French boys and their crossbody bags. So it ended up just being a crossbody bag running thing. I put my sweater over it, put gloves on, kept going. Um, it was a nice run. I mostly like run walked because I was just like, I don't think I have the endurance to like keep a good pace for 5 miles straight without stopping. So I did what I could. And the other thing is there's something about running like with sunshine where it's cold. My friend always used to call it the light in the refrigerator, la lumière dans le congélateur. So it's like there's sun outside and you get deceived that it's warm, and then you go outside and you're like, oh my god, we should not be here. But when you are clothed and it's warm, and you have your gloves and everything, and all you're feeling is this fresh air that is in your lungs, it's amazing. The other thing is oh, don't do that to me. The other thing is having an excellent accompaniment. I've always thought that the people that run, especially long distances, without appropriate music or audiobook or something to cover them while they run are absolute witches. Like, I don't know how they do that. I can't do anything without accompanying like ambient sound. I sleep with the YouTube like rain sound. I study with something in the back. It could be regular music. It could be like, classical sounds, depending on what I'm studying. I read with music. Um, if I'm running, it's either an audiobook or a different kind of sound. But today I didn't want to learn. I didn't want to learn anything. I didn't want to like study anything. I just wanted to go and have a run and enjoy it. So I found a YouTube playlist. I don't have a running playlist, which I need to get. And I like African music. I like African music. If you have not gotten into African songs yet, if you have not gotten into West African, like Coupe de Calais, Mapuka, all of that, you need to up your music game. But I got into that. And the nice thing about it is sometimes you get these mixes that are about 20 minutes, 30 minutes long. And right as the run was about to end, where I was like 4 miles in, and my body was starting to feel like, oh man, this is the end of it. Because the way that I schedule my runs is I do run into the trail or the road that I'm taking all the way to the halfway point that I choose, and then I turn around and come back. My thought process is I do ins and outs because I can park my car somewhere. And then all I tell myself is if I run a certain distance in, I have no choice but to run that distance back, right? Because where am I going to park my car? Like how am I going to get back to my vehicle? There's roads and highways and things like that. And yes, I can stop and call an Uber or something. But the amount of time it will take me to wait for an Uber, which is also just lazy work. Like I'm not going to start running just to give up. That's the other thing. I'm trying to train myself to push myself. I'm trying to train my brain. Like, yes, we can overcome this thing. This is easy work. You're better than this. But did you die? Things like that. So I ran the 5 miles. I was able to do it. My goal had been to run it under an hour. But it was cold and I was stopping to fix a stupid fanny pack and all of that stuff. I was able to get good music. It was excellent music. It was music that fed my like teenage/young adult soul. The DJ was just playing one hit after another, Bablé sur les cocotiers, all of those things. It was really good. And at the end, I realized that I ran in an hour and 48 seconds. That was it. 1 hour, 0 minute, 48 seconds, if I am not mistaken. I'll put the photo of the end thing somewhere at the end of this video, maybe. But it was a good time. I had a great time. It was a great run. And I was able to go home with 20 minutes to spare and take a shower and get myself ready. Not because I am Speedy Gonzalez and like I'm just super organized and everything is in its place, but because I have an amazing husband who, by the time I got home, I wasn't expecting to be home, but he was there and he had made dinner and salads and he'd put my protein shakes together and he'd done like the laundry. So I had a fresh uniform to wear because I had run out of uniforms and my shoes were where they were supposed to be. And all I had to do was hop in the shower, get out, take all of my paraphernalia, get in the car and leave. And I saw him for all of 15 minutes. We were having a conversation while I was taking the shower, while I was running around, trying to brush my teeth, trying to do all of that. There is nothing, you guys, like good support. There is nothing like somebody that is just like, go and do your nonsense dreams as wild as they are. I will take care of everything else. Shout out to my highly esteemed husband. He's amazing. But that was it. That was it today. I'm going to work now. Today is my last overnight for this week. Woohoo! And hopefully everything goes well. Hopefully I have the night that I always pray for but never get, which is an uneventful evening where almost nothing happens and I can actually sit down and study something the way that I would like to. Never happens, but we should keep hoping for the day. If you have gotten this far, thank you so much for being my anonymous, unpaid, unsolicited therapist in the void. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye.